Welcome to the Olive Branch, the podcast where two siblings from a small southern town in the heart of the Bible Belt, Huntsville, Alabama, try to bridge the gap between left and right America.
Or stop from strangling each other while trying.
I'm Eric, your right-wing host, a conservative, born-again Christian, and proud engine nerd with degrees in mechanical and aerospace engineering.
And depending on who you ask, I, your left-wing host, am a atheist, socialist, communist, and liberal.
I've been married for 23 years, got 4 kids, and consider myself a doting husband, daunting father, and wannabe comedian.
I've been married for 5 years, and I am childless by design. Thank you for getting my tubes tied. And also, I am a caretaker for our mother.
That's right, our mother.
Yes.
Thanks, sis. I've spent over 2 decades leading adult Sunday school, missional communities, life groups, small groups, connecting people to God through the Holy Bible.
And I've spent over 2 decades as a dungeon master leading crazy adventures through a realm of wonder and magic.
So yeah, between the preacher and the heathen,
The Bible and the battle map.
we've got absolutely no qualifications to be sharing our political opinions with the masses.
But we're gonna do it anyway.
Let's do this already!
Oh yeah. And today we have a little bit of homework from the last episode, but today's topic is going to be abortion. Who gets the right to choose, Eric?
Yeah, exactly. We thought we'd just start with an easy topic where we could all get on the same page. Thought abortion would be one.
Nailing it.
To something easy, just
A layup from one of our early episodes.
Ooh, are you a basketball fan?
I don't do the sports ball.
The sports ball? Okay, want to have a practice in these podcasts to always address any homework assignments from the last episode to make sure we're, if we don't know something, we're willing to do a little bit of research, dig in, don't be building our beliefs off of either assumptions or, false information, because sometimes we just get it wrong. We remember things wrong, we heard things wrong. And it's been a minute since we were in school learning about the U.S. Constitution. So, and that was our question. Does the U.S. Constitution apply to non-U.S. citizens? So,
Who was right, Eric?
that would be my sister.
It was me.
But me kinda.
You admitted you weren't 100% or you weren't sure.
Yeah. Well, I said. The answer on the internet says this to that question. Actually, I did this in ChatGPT, so let's see what AI says. Yes, many, parentheses, but not all, parts of the U.S. Constitution apply to non-U.S. citizens. But I do confess, I didn't think anything applied. I mean, I just, in my 51 years of life, I've never, as far as I can recall, never been a non-U.S. citizen. So it didn't really apply to me, and usually I'm worried about me. So I think in our very selfish nature, we usually try to, sweep our own porch, and I've never even thought about this. So very interesting. This is what it says. So where's it at? Yes, many, but not all parts of the U.S. Constitution apply to non-U.S. citizens, especially when they are within U.S. territory or under U.S. jurisdiction. So that makes sense. But here's the examples of application. The Fifth Amendment, due process of law. So no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So here's another sub-bullet. Applies to everyone physically present in the U.S., including undocumented immigrants. Mm-hmm. So that's very interesting. That is probably going to be a huge factor of our discussion when we actually talk about immigration and all that. So very, very interesting. The 14th Amendment, equal protection and due process.
People have Google. They can look this up.
There's stuff. Yeah. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. Rights reserved for U.S. citizens, though. So this is, even if you're a legal alien, it doesn't apply to you. Just something to know. One, right to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be part of the immigration discussion as well.
They've never been able to vote.
Well, okay. We will talk about that, and maybe the integrity of the voting process.
Do you want to do immigration next week?
Oh my gosh. Sell your horses. Maybe we will. Eligibility to hold federal office. So that's one. We'll talk about all that. Anyway, good points.
I had one stupid anecdote that I wanted to say about Trump derangement syndrome, and it's mostly a neg on my side of the fence. So, I think I mentioned I became a Swiftie very recently. I had a TikToker that I watch sometimes. They were talking about how the newest album, Life of a Showgirl, had MAGA dog whistles in it. And that threw me for a loop because I own the new album and like it, and I would not support MAGA dog whistles. So like the whole, like, there was a 72-hour period where like it just kept popping in my head like, what do you mean? And the only thing I could think of is in the song Canceled, she talks about that your friends are the ones with matching scars. And I remember a stupid trend of the Band-Aid on the ear for all the people. And I was like, maybe that's what they're thinking of. But it's talking about, to my knowledge, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds getting canceled for getting into a legal battle with Justin Baldoni. And Taylor Swift's like, no, they're my friend. When I had a bad reputation, they were there for me. Now I'm there for them.
All right. I feel totally clueless. What in
That's
the
just
world?
for them. It's not for you.
What in the world is a MAGA dog whistle? I don't even know what that means.
A dog whistle is when you say things with innuendo or subtext to where people who want to know what you're talking about will know, oh, they're hinting at us. But it's not something you can objectively get in trouble for.
Okay. Give me a better example. Give me an example.
I'll have to think of one. I don't want to do it on the spot, but if I can, I'll be like dog whistle.
Okay, we'll have a go back. That's interesting. No, I thought you were talking about a literal dog whistle.
The dog whistle that came to my mind.
This dog whistle comes at a frequency that only actual MAGA supporters will pick up, and it'll blow their eardrum.
No,
I was like, man, the technology's gotten fierce.
No, I would say, and I would even say this is a dog whistle, but it kind of became argued as a dog whistle when Elon Musk raised his hand to do the salute thing.
And they said, oh, look, he's a Nazi, Heil Hitler.
Did you know every Nazi thought he was talking to them? So that was a dog whistle for Nazis.
So there's modern day Nazis.
100%.
100%. Where are they hiding?
They're not. That's why I'm sad all the time, Eric. They're not.
I'm not familiar with these group of Nazis.
In Athens, like less than 48 hours ago, a guy dressed as a Nazi for Halloween and got kicked out of a bar after he broke a glass on someone's head. I saw that recently.
Okay, but that doesn't mean he's a real Nazi if he dressed up for Halloween. Come on.
No, but that's just people are doing it as it's okay now.
Well,
we can talk about Nazis.
Wait, I think we need to have an episode on Halloween costumes and what's acceptable and what's not.
Most people aren't cool with Nazi costumes.
But it
was the breaking the bottle on the woman's head, I think, that broke the camel's back.
Well, maybe that's an interesting transition into abortion because I've actually heard comparisons of the Holocaust to America's reign of abortion over the last several decades. And if you actually look at the numbers, abortion has taken out like tenfold more than the Holocaust did. So it's really crazy when you look at it like that. I try to do a little bit of homework of abortion, and this is not a good topic. It's not a fun topic. It's very sad. It's very discouraging. It's not good. What about you?
I have a list of demands that would make me pro forced birth. So if you want me to lead in what I think would make me anti-abortion, I can give you my arguments as to what would need to be different for me to be anti-abortion.
That's fine. Go. It sounds like. Give me your list of demands.
First off is healthcare in the United States.
Okay.
It costs in the first year of being pregnant and having the child $20,000 on average in the United States.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know how much minimum wage people make a year?
No.
Like 20 to 30 grand. Like it's around the 20 grand mark.
Small tangent. I just added minimum wage to our list of episodes. It's in the queue. All right, keep going.
So,
How much did you say?
about 20 grand.
Oh gosh.
So you can work 40 hours a week, for the minimum wage in most states and not be able to afford just the medical expenses for the childbirth and the insurance that you have to pay for during the year and any medical visits for yourself or for the child.
So when you say 20 grand, that's 20 grand total to include insurance paying a portion. And,
Yeah, that's I believe it's including your insurance,
Yeah.
your cost for insurance.
Yes. Well, I'm saying the insurance payments too. Okay, got you.
Yeah.
All right, go.
But it's on average, the average person who has a child in America, it costs them 20 grand
Yeah.
in the first year.
Okay.
Most people can't afford that.
Okay.
Most people can't afford $500 accidents. I think it's like 60 or 70% of Americans can't afford a $500 accident.
Okay.
So to say you have to have a child and take on 20 grand in debt for when you can't afford $500, like most people can't afford an abortion because it's around $500. So there's a lot of people, that's why they would have to borrow money from people or whatever if they wanted to get an abortion. And that's one of the facts where nobody's using it as birth control because only people who could afford that would do that.
Yeah. Okay. Hit me with your list of demands. I almost want to say this, going to like a universal health care, that's an entirely different topic than the rub of abortion. So,
this is my list to get me to probe forced birth.
Okay.
We would have to live in a society that had free universal health care.
Got you.
There would have to be job protections or income protections for the woman for the first 5 years. Either that or childcare. Because if she's the only breadwinner, then she needs to have a way to have the child cared for.
Okay.
So there has to be either free childcare or subsidized childcare based on your income.
Okay. You don't have to explain each point. Maybe go through and then we'll cherry pick any to debate.
I also think the adoption process should not be a pay-to-play money fiasco that it is.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You know better than me because you know people that have done it firsthand.
Yes. I've got numerous friends that have adopted, and it's like, they're paying 30 grand per adoption, and it may be even worse than that because I'm quoting, a decade ago. So, wow. Yeah.
So there needs to be a guilt-free social service of I would like to sign over my child to the government. I don't want to have a child, but I'm going to have it because of pro-forced birth. And I won't do an abortion. My medical care and stuff will be cared for. I can turn it over. And adoption, that I know the child will be adopted and not hidden behind a paywall.
Okay. That's interesting. I think that's a better world. Keep going.
Those are my main things. I think there's more, but those are the main ones that...
You exaggerated. You said 10, but you quoted what, 4?
Well, each of them have a bunch of nuance.
Oh, okay. So you got sub-bullets.
It's a totally different reality than we live in.
Okay. So essentially, you're coming to the argument, I like the right to abort my baby in unwanted pregnancies because there's financial hardship that
is insurmountable.
So got you. That's here's the deal.
Even if it's not financially, and I'll even say, in most circumstances, I don't think there's any scenario where the woman doesn't have the right to say no. And that's because of bodily autonomy. And if an airplane crashed into this building right now and we both were hit by it, but you needed a liver, if I was a perfect match for a liver, no one can take my liver without me saying, I think Eric should have my liver.
Gotcha. All right. There's a lot here. Let me see if I can get a little bit more to the bottom of the heap. To me, of what abortion debates I've heard over the years, to include Charlie Kirk episodes. I've seen people in Congress talk and ask questions about abortion process, and I actually thought good preparation for this may be, if we're going to talk about abortion and should we be able to do it, not do it? What is it? And see if we can find a procedure and watch it to know what we're dealing with. Of what I've heard of that process, which include metal, utensils, reaching in and grabbing and pulling and ripping a child apart. It's actually grotesque. Anyway, I did not build up the nerve to watch that. I'm scared to say it's a homework assignment for me and you both to watch that, but I think
in my experience, that stage of a type of abortion is only done after it's like a stillbirth and they have to get rid of the fetus because it's in there. But typically, you're not having an abortion when it is in the shape of a baby.
Okay. I've heard otherwise. I'm definitely don't have a breakout of stats of all that. I have heard testimony of otherwise. But anyway, my point was this: of all the debates and stuff I've heard, there's this rub. This is the rub, the contention between left and right on this, and it's, when does life begin? Okay, so I remember this is something I remember seeing a clip with Bill Maher. Here, we can do homework. I want you to listen. We can do homework later, or say there's a homework assignment. We can look up stats and all that.
Oh, I was just going to type something for me to bring up later in this conversation. But go on.
Oh, just say it. What is it? And we'll do.
Now I forgot. Go ahead.
Oh, God.
Don't micromanage me.
Well, no, you just threw me off.
I fumble under pressure.
Don't play with your phone while I'm talking to you. This is serious stuff.
I'm not one of your kids, okay? I can do my phone.
No, Bill Maher made a statement. He said he was talking to somebody about the Ten Commandments, and then he may have even been Charlie Kirk. I can't remember, but he said he was joking about the Ten Commandments, like the value added of them, and he said, and one of them is, thou shalt not murder, and he's like we need that listed as a commandment. Everybody knows you're not supposed to murder, and what's ironic is, I don't know. I think we do, because in this situation, that's where that's their position is. Life comes at conception, and that is a life that we need to protect. It's a human being. So therefore, as we talk about in the Declaration of Independence, as we talk about in the U.S. Constitution, we are to, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, we should protect that child. That's how the right sees it.
And I would say the flip side of that is my right to life, liberty, and happiness can't be infringed upon. So would you be okay with the government getting a DNA sample from people, or just having it on record, people's blood types and different, enzymes and stuff, and as people have organs failing, you just got drafted to donate your kidney? You don't get a say. If we don't have universal health care, you get to eat the cost of the surgery. But to save Henry, a dude who I can make eye contact with, he needs your kidney.
Okay, but having a child doesn't take your kidney. It doesn't.
It costs $20,000, and it's a physical process you have to do for over a year.
Yeah. So got you. So the deal is, let's back it up to the bottom of the heap here. Well, hang on. You went back to expenses. You went back to financial hardship. Let's see where we rest on the rub.
If it was free.
Kind of don't worry about cost.
Okay.
Let's try to define, when does life begin, and does that life deserve what we just mentioned in the U.S. Constitution is protection of life. When does life begin to you? I said it, the right says at conception. So where do you think?
I don't believe in souls.
Okay.
So that changes things.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
But for me, if I was suddenly pregnant, I wouldn't feel comfortable having an abortion. Probably at the 4th or 5th month is where I would be like, now it's weird. Whereas before that, if I found out in the first 2 or 3 weeks, I'd be like, oh.
Okay, help me. What changes? What occur over 2 to 3 weeks to 4 months? What changes occur where your
The
value
perception
system?
of pain.
Huh?
The perception of pain.
Okay, you're what you assume.
Yeah, to my knowledge, the embryo can feel the pain
Yeah.
and understand its pain.
Yeah.
And even then, I don't think it should be taken off the table. That's where I would draw the line. Because nobody's going to 9 months and then saying I was just kidding. I would like to. I would like one name.
Oh, I don't know anyone.
I feel like they would be
personally.
outed somewhere.
Yeah.
You know? But
Yeah.
people aren't getting to 9 months. If they're getting to 6 months, they already are getting cribs and having parties.
Yeah.
They're already accepting their boyfriend's never going to get on the same page as them, and am I doing this by myself now?
Yeah. So, you mentioned, somebody take a kidney and all this, and essentially you're echoing the mantra, my body, my choice. Does
Yeah.
that sound right? So, a point that I've heard in this argument is, well, the baby is not your body. So it's totally separate.
Right, it doesn't get access to my body without my choice. Just like consent for sex can be revoked mid-coitus. I don't want anyone touching my body. If you died right now, we can't take your organs if you didn't already say so.
Gotcha.
So a living human should have the rights of a dead body. Minimal.
Yeah.
So if it needs my body to survive, it's not physically at a state to survive. If I got brain dead from a car wreck, get off your phone.
I was wanting to quote the Constitution. It just makes me think of the preamble. What is it?
Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness?
Yeah, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, declare certain unalienable rights, that all men are created equal.
Mm-hmm.
And these rights include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I think it's the Declaration of Independence. But I don't know.
It would take my
We
liberty.
have to protect that life. What you're saying
Why is it
is
more
not
about-
applicable to anything else in life. Like you don't end somebody's life because they're going to give you financial hardship. You just don't do that. Like, if you chose to enroll in school and then they said, well, you got $100,000 of student debt, you can't go, well, that's inconvenience. That's a hardship on me. I'm going to kill you.
Because
It don't make sense.
the life comes from an action. That's why they're responsible and have to keep it.
I would say definitely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you choose to have sex with.
So smokers should not get cancer treatment.
What do you mean?
If they have lung cancer, do they get cancer treatment?
No, that's a way to heal yourself of cancer.
But it was their choice.
True, but cancer is crazy, chaotic cells damaging your body. And I guess that's the rub. You see,
I could say that about the pregnancy.
well, yeah. You're saying, and in this argument, what I've seen is there's a lot of dehumanization. They don't refer to it as a child or the baby. They refer to it as an embryo or a zygote or some in utero, and just all these things to say it's just a clump of cells. And
About 6 months is when I start considering it a baby, which I've said as an adult.
Based on what?
The fact
the perception of pain.
The perception of pain, it can start responding to, if you poke at your belly, it can kick back. It starts getting preferences for that's when a lot of its systems come online.
Well, let me
It's
ask
around
you
the
something.
5 month
Let's stretch it out further. If you don't believe and I'm trying to understand your perspective, and that's what this whole.
Imagine it's a puppy.
Hang on.
That's the same as me. I would not ever want to drown a puppy.
Okay.
But if it's going to cost somebody $20,000 and it could become something great, but right now it's a puppy and it's going to cause them physical changes, employment difficulties, housing costs, financial costs, debt for the medical expenses. Would I drown a puppy? Yeah, I guess I'd do that for the person I can make eye contact with right now, not the hypothetical person the puppy could grow into.
Yeah. I'm trying to have something tangible that's universally applicable to the masses. Right now, it's just your opinion on perception of pain. And I'm like, but, some people may be colder than that. So what standard... It seems like a very movable, subjective standard.
I think once the baby is viable outside of the body, which is usually like 7 to 9 months, then you should not be able to have an abortion, which I don't think they even do that unless it's the life of the mother. If the baby's viable, when they do an abortion, they are taking the infant out of its stomach.
Yeah. What I'm getting at is...
what question do you have?
Something that's universally applicable to a country. If we're trying to establish laws for a country, to me that's the question. Should it be against the law, or should it be acceptable for you to perform an abortion? How do you make that determination? From your standpoint, it just seems like an opinion. Whereas if you go back to the Constitution, in our Declaration of Independence, how we started a country, all men are created equal and have unalienable rights endowed by the Creator. We're believing in a Creator, we're believing in the sanctity of life, and we're believing all lives should be protected. To me, that's
women
it.
and black people weren't included in that when it was written, but now we understand that should happen.
I'll tell you straight up, as I read that and as I quote that, that's exactly what I'm thinking is how in the world did we use that as the foundation to start a country
and then only meant 40% of the population.
And very soon get off kilter to where we justify the practice of slavery. That seems cuckoo to me. So I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
We need to add that to the queue if we haven't already. But anyway, the sanctity of life, we should protect that. And then so the right, that's just the way we see it. Mm-hmm. And you can't get around that. If you're looking at it from, hey, we're just a clump of cells and I don't believe in God. Why does it matter if a clump of cells get some chemical reaction that is recognized as pain? Why does that even matter to you?
Because for me, it's at the point where it'd be like a puppy experiencing pain.
Why is that bad?
Because I know what pain is, and that's sad.
Okay.
In general, I don't want anything to experience pain or discomfort or fear.
Yeah.
So even if it's an idiot puppy where its eyes are still shut, I wouldn't want to poke needles in it.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's a personal line for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think abortion should be legal up until the point that the infant is viable outside of the womb. And then they can give it up to... But right now they can't give it up.
Yeah.
It's such a hard process to turn your kid over to the state or another authority figure for adoption. It would just go in the foster care system, and then now you basically have a criminal record.
Well, I do think there should be an overhaul to the adoption process.
Yeah,
definitely.
it's nuts. And if there was, that would get me one step closer to, no, we're going to make every woman who got a baby in her take it to term and get rid of it the legal way.
The rub is this, is when does life begin? Because I don't think, you don't believe in murder. I think if you had the perception that this was actually a human child that's alive, I think
it has the potential to become one, but it's not yet.
You're making me think of the Bill Burr bit on abortion, him baking a cake.
Yeah. That was gonna be a cake.
Yeah, if the quick take on it is he puts some batter in a pan, puts it in the oven, and he's baking a cake. And a friend comes up, pulls that out of the oven, throws it across the floor, and Bill says, "Hey, what are you doing? That was my cake. You just ruined my cake." He's like, it's not a cake yet. Well, it was gonna be before you threw it all over the floor, you cake murdering SOB.
Yeah.
So it's inevitable. It's going to be a cake, but the argument that it's not your body. You can't say this is my body, my choice. This is a totally separate human being because it has different DNA.
And I'm not responsible for any separate human being in any other circumstance.
I think if you're mom and dad, you're definitely responsible for your child. Definitely. 100%. 100%.
So if one of your kids needed an organ transplant, the government could make you to give up your organ for them?
I don't even, I guess we're talking about Constitution and laws
Yeah,
and
like
what's acceptable. I would say if you're a good father, yes, you will give them an organ
But do you think you should be legally mandated to?
I don't know. That's a weird hypothetical. It's hard for me to process.
Because you're mandating someone give up their body.
But they got into that situation by choice.
Or by accident, or by rape, or by...
Right. And then that's another nuance to the argument is...
If I use birth control and condoms, which I did the majority of my life before I got my tubes tied, and I still somehow am one of the people where the condom broke and I became immune to the birth control. Mm-hmm. If I got pregnant, what's the option? Everyone has to be a nun if they aren't wanting to procreate?
No, you got to be a mom.
I'm not going to do that.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. God created us. This is the rights viewpoint.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand your viewpoint. Yeah. This is the rights viewpoint. We were created by God in the image of God. And God created all things. But the human beings is the only thing that he created in his own image. Mm-hmm. And so there's a different reverence, a different honor that goes to each human being. Another doctrine or teaching or practice in Christianity is, Jesus says, what you've done to the least of these, you've done unto me. Essentially do unto others as you'd have do unto you. But it's really, you're doing this to Christ. That's how you should look at it. That's why you should treat everyone with respect and with kindness and with love. So this is like, it's really, from the right side, it's a gross abomination. It's absolutely horrid.
And I guess the main question about that is, why doesn't that abomination viewpoint carry over to other instances that aren't, well, she shouldn't have spread her legs if she didn't want to eat the bullet?
Yeah.
Because if it's just, this dude got in a car wreck, he needs so many pints of blood, we look at the registry, there are 5 people in town that have his perfect blood type. Let's get Henry down here and make him donate.
Yeah.
Why can't we do that? If life is valuable, if life is perfect, if life is cherished.
Yeah.
Why aren't we cherishing all lives with this same fervor as, screw you, you hussy. I hope you're $20,000 in debt and maybe it's an abusive relationship. Maybe that's why you got pregnant when you weren't trying to get pregnant in the first place.
Yeah.
We don't know.
So there's a lot here.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot here, and it's going to be hard for me to remember all the points I want to say to that. But I do think the concern is, we look at rape and incest, and those are like 0.5% of the stats. They're not...
The majority of abortions are babies that can't make it to term.
Okay. That would be... Maybe that's an interesting homework assignment. But yeah, my general understanding, I was going to say rape and incest is 0.5%, but 99.5%, it's essentially people wanting to have sex with no consequence and using abortion simply as a form of birth control. That's how it's perceived.
Nobody does that.
Oh my gosh. Well...
Who do you know that's had an abortion because, forgot to buy condoms that night. I guess I'll get to the 3rd or 4th trimester This is what we.
Okay.
I was meant
this
month,
is,
not trimester.
all right. This is definitely a homework assignment. Yeah. We need to have a breakdown of the stats of that, and I don't even know if there's going to be a good record of that breakdown, because that's going to require people to have a measure of humility.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll take
an
anecdotal example.
Yeah.
I'm mad at that word because it doesn't feel right coming out of my mouth.
Well, in this case,
yeah.
I think it would be totally inappropriate for either one of us to
not,
voice an anecdotal of somebody else.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
if you don't have something personal that you're willing to share, I don't think it's appropriate for either one of us to mention anybody we know.
Yeah.
Okay. What else was I going to say about that? I don't know. There's a lot.
I can say a side thing.
Yeah.
Statistically, the areas that have the least amount of abortions are the places that have the highest amount of pre-birth options, like free condoms, birth control access, and higher sex education. How come the right always wants to get rid of those two things if they hate abortion so much?
Because in the Christian faith, fornication, which is all sex outside the bonds of marriage, is a sin. So we do not want you to practice that. I mean, why do you laugh at that?
I laughed because of something you said when I started to move in with my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband. He told me when I said I was going to move in, he goes, Audra, I don't want my little sister living in sin. And I was like, you'd rather I be commuting in sin?
Okay.
So that just popped in my head. It was just cute. It wasn't
no,
what you were actually saying.
You know, and I can see. I'm trying to consider how somebody would perceive that.
And you can have all the options on earth and never do any of them. So having the option for birth control isn't going to force anyone to have sex that wouldn't. I've never thought, oh, really?
No, but no, I think
the family should
I think a young person should realize that having a child is a possibility. You're practicing procreation. That's how God made it. God made it enjoyable, but He also made it to be within the bonds of marriage. It's something to celebrate and enjoy with your spouse.
The human brain doesn't get fully developed until the age 21 to 25, and most people lose their virginity in high school.
What's your point?
That we're idiot monkeys that can't control ourselves, and people are going to bang regardless of the best intentions. Regardless of their best intentions.
I definitely, so
we should have ways for them not to need an abortion.
I understand that logic.
Yeah.
But I also think you should avoid all sin.
Yeah, best case scenario.
And one sin I think is to kill a baby in your stomach. Another sin would be to fornicate, to have sex outside the bonds of marriage. Why is that? Why would God have that rule? Is God picking on you? Did God create sex to dangle something in front of you and torment you?
Can I say some crazy stuff about the Bible?
Well, hang on. No, no, you cannot. Let me finish my statement.
Yeah.
Why is He saying that fornication is sin?
He didn't used to.
He didn't used to?
No.
What does that mean?
If you rape someone, they just become your next wife.
Okay.
It wasn't a sin because a man can own that woman. She's just property.
Okay. So
there's a lot of examples in the Bible where fornication isn't bad. It only sucks because their property got damaged and the dad now has to sell off his daughter to the dude and get a good price for her because that was an asset.
Okay. Sounds like we should do cherry pick some of those examples that you find offensive, and it does on the surface. That sounds cray. It sounds crazy. But I think it would be good if we understand the context, the situation, the time period, the culture, and see if we can mesh that together to get a better understanding. On the surface, that sounds absurd. I think the closer we get to it, things will start clicking a little better. But pulling it back to where we are.
God was also pro-abortion.
God is pro-abortion?
There's a story in the Bible of a woman a guy thought might be cheating on him. So he got a tonic to give to her, and if it wasn't his baby, which is what he thought, it would abort the baby.
Okay. All right. I've got years of experience of teaching from the Bible. It seems like I've heard of something similar to that, but I've never done the homework to dig that up and digest that. So we can add that to the homework assignment. You're going to be leading a Bible study here.
God pro-abortion? Question mark?
Yeah. But anyway, my point that I was trying to get at is if God calls something sin, it's not because he's picking on you. It's not because he's dangling something in front of you to and go, ha, ha, look what you can't have and enjoy. It's because he designed us. He made us. He knows everything about us. And he is trying to safeguard us from harm. And I imagine, you're talking about, people, women's rights and their choice and being able to do what they want with their body. I dare say most women who've, and I can't speak for them, but I suspect.
You would dare say.
I would dare say that their testimony is they have been scarred by that experience. It was traumatic. It was, some may even say every day since that they hear the cries of their baby. I mean, this is something that can scar you and torment you because to me, we can get in these debates and we can get into a word pickleball Olympics and just go back and forth and talk about zygotes and embryos and utero and clump of cells. At the end of the day, I think people know that's my baby. That's my baby in my womb. That's my child. And I killed it. Why? Because I didn't want financial hardship. I didn't want some bills. I wanted to live my life. I didn't want to be a mom. I wanted to enjoy my youth. And so I chose to kill my child. And they know it. And it is traumatic for them to live with. And I want to voice, choose better. Choose right. It is going to be hard. Yes, the trajectory of your life was this. Guess what? Now it's this. Correct.
I don't think anyone looks at getting abortion as not traumatic, which is why I don't understand the misconception that people do it as birth control. I think everybody knows. Our mom has said she's pro-choice, but she couldn't do it. When she got pregnant, I think it was either with you or with me, they told her she was pregnant and she looked really disheartened. And the doctor said, do you want to keep it? And she was like, what are you talking about? Of course I'm going to keep it. But if it was someone else, she would advocate for their stuff. But it is a trauma.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing it for the fun of it, blowing $500. If they're having sex without protection, it's either an education issue or they're in an abusive situation.
Yeah. All right, we're 43 minutes in, 44 minutes in. I said I was going to share a testimony. I think this is value added. I really don't want to share this. But I said in the last episode I was going to give a testimony of after I was married as a Christian, teaching Sunday school to adults. I had a situation where I contemplated having an abortion. So that in itself, it sounds cray-cray. Let me just share this. And the whole point, the reason I feel led to share this is that's the whole premise of this dang podcast, is trying to understand how you think and believe determines how you feel, which determines how you act and your choices of behavior. So I want to walk you through my roller coaster there. Hang on, let me tell them I'm not talking. My phone was ringing, sorry. So bottom line, we're married. We're on pregnancy. My wife gets pregnant. This is our third child. And so this is right before Ben. This is about a year or so before Ben. Ben's 17 now.
Don't dox him.
But anyway, So we're excited, we're pregnant, we announce in Sunday school, and then uh, I think about 6 weeks in or whatever it is, we're going to the doctor. We're going to check out the heartbeat and just see how we're doing. And we go in, and they're doing that ultrasound on the belly and everything, and we can't hear a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And she looks a little flustered. She's measuring, and she's checking, and she's like measuring the size, the length, and then she starts asking questions like, "So when did you say like the first day of your last cycle stuff? You know,
Yeah.
and are you sure? Are you sure that's the date? Because
It wasn't growing.
yeah, so much time. You're supposed to have so much growth. Not hearing a heartbeat, just." And I started asking questions, and then she's like, you know, she's like the Matrix, you know, she's like dividing, you know,
Yeah.
she's dodging all my questions.
I didn't get paid for to answer that question. I'm gonna get the doctor.
Yeah, exactly. And then the doctor finally comes in, and my frustration, and it's not just frustration, it's concern, it's anxiety, it's fear. And then she says, "Well, here, this is what we're going to do. Y'all come back in like 2 weeks, and then you know, right now I think we may be off on the date of the last day of the last cycle, and that happens, and then we'll just check the growth from today to 2 weeks from now, and it should be a certain amount, and we'll know where to go from there." And then I just jump in, you know, because I'm an engineer and like trying to understand the process, and I was like, well, what are the results going to be? I mean, like, what if it's not growing? What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then she did a little matrix action, you know, and spoke code. And I was like, what does this mean? And she said, well, if it's not adequate growth, that means the pregnancy could end in miscarriage, or it could possibly end in an abnormal pregnancy. It's like, what's an abnormal pregnancy? What does that mean? And she said, you know, it's like gritting teeth to answer my questions. She said, that means this child, if it doesn't end in miscarriage, it could end either physically and or mentally handicapped. Mm-hmm. And when she said that, oh my gosh, it was like her turning into the Incredible Hulk and just grabbing a concrete block wall and slamming it and crushing me. I mean, it just really crushed me. And immediately I started thinking about, you know, having this child, and then the hardship and everything you were talking about, all this financial hardship. I was like, you know, there's going to be special classes, special schools, you can't go here or there. You can't do these things because you have to take care of a special needs child. You know, essentially my life is sacrificed. So, you know, before going into this, I'm just, Southern Baptist a Sunday school teacher.
Yeah.
I've never even contemplated abortion. I was like, well, abortion, life is at conception. Abortion's wrong. That's murder. All right, next. It was very academic. But then when I'm in this situation, all this fear, this anxiety, the unknowns, it stirred up a realm of emotions that was hard for me to deal with. And then while I'm talking to her, or within seconds, it's like I had 10 conversations in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And one was, I thought, oh my gosh, I already announced that we were pregnant in Sunday school. If we, you know, were to try to abort this baby in private, of course, you know, then they will ask us follow-up questions, and then what am I going to say?
Yeah.
So that just shows you how shallow of a man I was.
It's very human.
So I was trying to get an out. I wanted her. I was so afraid of that scenario of having a special needs child. I kind of wanted her to give me an out. I was like, well, if that comes to be, well, what would we do then? And I'm wanting her to say, well, you'll have to get an abortion. And then I can say, well, the doctor said I had to. You know, that's, and in these few seconds, that's where my mind went. And my wife immediately interjected, Well, nothing that we would do.
Yeah.
And then I like turned to her a little frustrated, like, I'm trying to get an out here. What do you, don't cover up. And it was just a very overwhelming, emotional roller coaster of a situation. Bottom line, we go home, we think about all this. It's a scary, emotional roller coaster time. So this gives me so much empathy for women who get pregnant and it's an unwanted pregnancy and they don't know what the heck tomorrow holds. I have so much more empathy, sympathy, compassion for that situation than I used to. But when we come back, I pray all week about this, or all the 2 weeks. We go back and sure enough, they say there's no heartbeat, there's no growth. You have miscarried.
Yeah.
You've lost the child.
Yeah.
So that introduced a whole nother level of emotion, because I did not foresee caring about an unborn child. I'm just a callous, cold man. In times, I'll tell you this, being in church for many, many decades, I've heard people say, hey, we were pregnant, we lost the child. I didn't say it out loud, in my head. Oh, but the child wasn't born, no harm or foul, not that big of a deal. That's what this callous, cold man thought.
So we probably got that genetically.
You're a cold-hearted snake.
Yeah, I understand the concept of pregnancy.
Yeah.
For a lot of people is very important.
So, but it was like mourning the loss of a real child. It tore me up. I cried. I wept that I lost this child. It was weird. And then at the same time, simultaneously, there was a sense of relief that, hey, you don't have to sacrifice your life. You don't have to raise a special needs child. You don't have a physically or mentally handicapped child. So that burden has been taken away from you. And I had a measure of relief of that. And I can't tell you the measure of shame. The measure of shame for being such a loser to have relief that I lost my own child.
It's human.
So, anyway, at the end of the day, everybody, some people are like, well, I'm not a doctor. What does the doctor say? When does life begin? And they may think of, embryo, zygote, all the things, and talk about, well, they don't get a heartbeat till then. They don't feel pain until this, as far as we know.
Yeah.
There's so much. Just, anecdotal. Just me talking to you, Eric talking to Audra. Deep down, it's just a baby. It's a life that cannot defend itself. And I should do everything in my power to protect it, because it can't. So that's just how I feel.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right, no more topics like this.
I was going to say, so I don't think we hit all the notes. Do we follow back and throw this on the end? Or nah, it's intense.
Yeah.
And it's complex, which is why I don't think there should be a law about it. There's still many factors that you can't there isn't a clean cut, no one should do this after X. Because there's just so much involved with it. I think it should be between a woman and her doctor, and if we lived in a different reality, you could talk me into it.
Yeah. I feel like right now, as far as how I feel, the Forrest Gump said it best. That's all I got to say about that.
Fair enough. I had mentioned to you that in 3 weeks, not that I'm counting, but in 3 weeks, Wicked, the Broadway musical, is getting part 2 of the movie. And we had talked about a few things about it having political undertones and stuff, so we may be doing an episode about Wicked coming up soon. Do you have any ideas on what you want to do next week?
Well, you mentioned immigration. I mean, we could try it.
We'll try it.
Yeah.
And we'll probably just fumble around and cry at each other, because as of right now, that's 30% of our content.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it's human.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Sorry it's a downer, but we're fine.
Yeah.
We're both fine.
That's right. We'll get through this. Okay. All right. Love y'all. See you next time.
Bye.